Hello, everyone. This is Sally Ganga, and I'm back now with Beth Feinberg Keenan. She is a Bright Horizons College Coach veteran. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Beth.
Thanks, Sally, so much for having me.
All right, so today we are talking about some ways that students can pay for advanced degrees. So what are some of the ways that they can do that? Let's just kind of dive into it.
Great. So I think that, one of the more common ways that a number of graduate students do pay for advanced degrees is by borrowing. And the ability to finance an advanced degree, the amount that they can borrow goes up considerably from when they were getting their undergraduate degree. So graduate students can borrow a maximum of $20,500 a year through the federal direct unsubsidized student loan program. And if somebody's looking to go get a medical degree, they can actually borrow up to $40,500 a year. So even more than just a traditional graduate degree. So we'll say like a history degree or an English degree. And if that's not enough, if that $20,500 or that $40,500 doesn't pay the bill that's owed to the school, minus any other types of financial assistance that's offered to the student, they can borrow additional funds through private loans. They could borrow additional funds through another federal loan called a Direct Plus loan. So believe it or not, there's plenty of money, I was going to say, in terms of financing options for those individuals who are looking to get an advanced degree, whether it be a master's, a PhD, or some type of professional degree.
So basically, I think it's probably important for people to know that there is less funding than there is for undergraduates. Like it really comes down to loans in a lot of cases. Is that how I'm understanding you correctly?
In a lot of cases, you're right. I was going to say it does come down to loans. There are scholarship opportunities out there for graduate school and for advanced degrees, but I think it's a lot harder to find those and a lot harder to secure those. It's something that's really important to understand too, is especially if you're looking for scholarship opportunities outside of the college, it takes time and it takes planning. Many times when I've spoken with individuals who are looking to get an advanced degree, it's like, okay, when do you want to start? And it's like, oh, I want to start like 3 months from now. I want to start, 6 months from now. And that's great, because often they can get into, graduate schools, very quickly. They might have, many start dates, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be able to secure scholarship or grant assistance to match when they want to start. So if it is important that a student gets some type of external funding, kind of partner that, with the timing, think about, well, when do you want to start? Because you should probably start to think about 6 months to a year before that of like what type of external funding is available. In my experience, many, graduate schools do have some funding. If they offer grant funds based on need, I've seen that, some law schools offer need-based grants. I've seen that some medical schools offer some type of need-based grant funds. But it's important for students to understand that many times parental information might be required. And graduate students are like, hey, wait, I thought now that I'm in a graduate school, like I don't have to provide any parent information. But when you're looking at like a 20-something-year-old who's not working, I mean, you all, as I say, they all look exactly the same, that they have, little to no income if they're, single individuals. So what they look at is they look at the parents and they look at the parents' ability to pay, whether they're supporting the student or not. And that's going to factor in if schools are offering any type of need-based grant funds to that student. And then there's scholarships. I mean, some schools also offer scholarships. They are fairly limited in my experience of what type of scholarship assistance is available to, graduate and professional schools, students. And some schools might also offer assistantships. And that's an opportunity where a student could teach, maybe do some type of research in their field and get all of their tuition, if not a portion of their tuition covered, and potentially maybe a stipend to go along with that tuition benefit that they're getting from the school too.
Yeah, it really does depend on the program. I mean, my brother is a physicist, and so who went to Princeton, so he didn't have to pay. right? But like when I went to Fairfield, I used my employer benefit, and I definitely didn't get anything from Fairfield for my program in industrial or organizational psychology. So I think, that is probably something to be aware of. But it seems like in the majority of cases, you're not going to get that kind of a full ride stipend sort of thing. That's a pretty elite situation, I would imagine.
It is, same thing, when I worked at Northeastern, I worked for a number of years in the graduate aid office. I worked with graduate students and law students, and the assistantships and the scholarship, and were not being offered by the financial aid office. Students were having these were offered directly by the departments. So while you think of like the undergraduate process that is offered at the time that students are admitted to the school and by the admissions office, that's not so the case with the graduate population. It's more along the lines of that the departments are making those decisions and what they have for external funding, what they have for any type of assistantship opportunities for students to be able to offset some of their costs. But in turn, there is some type of work obligation that the student has to do in order to receive that type of funding.
Which, if they want to teach is not necessarily a bad thing because it's experience, but you are already busy and you'll be even busier basically. So how do they go about applying for those kinds of assistantships and fellowships?
So in terms of assistantships, they should be in contact with the college, talking with the department that they're going to be studying within, checking with the admissions office to see if there's even assistantship or fellowship opportunities at the institution to see, what the process is. Be prepared that they're going to be prepared to fill out an application because there's typically a very extensive application that individuals are going to be required to fill out. They also need to be able to profile, like, what is the benefit? Like, what are they as an individual bringing to that institution? What is their selling factor? Because many of these programs are, very selective already. And so if the program is selective, to be able to get that type of funding and an assistantship is even more so selective. Many of these also come with interviews. So, just be prepared that you're going to have to really, sell yourself, not only to the institution to accept you, but also to the institution to offer you this type of opportunity. Fellowships, on the other hand, are sometimes offered by the institution, but there's also a number of different outside organizations that offer fellowships. There are two really good websites that I have used and worked with individuals. UCLA and Cornell have some databases for fellowship opportunities where students can actually use those databases. They don't have to be going to UCLA. They don't have to be going to Cornell, but they have an extensive list of fellowship opportunities that are out there available for students to research and to explore. But fellowships can be offered by government agencies. They can be offered by organizations. And again, it's going to be a competitive application process that students need to make sure that they're ready to undertake. The other thing that I also want to mention with fellowships is many of these fellowships could also be 1 year. So if you don't get a fellowship like your first year of college, first year of graduate school, don't fret. I would encourage them to continue looking. I had a cousin who went to NYU to law school, and I remember when she was going through that process of looking at fellowships, and she didn't get anything her first year of law school, but she was able to secure a fellowship for her second and third year of law school. So there are opportunities that individuals might find that they're not able to secure when they're entering into a graduate degree.
Yeah, I've actually have a number of friends who went to graduate school, and most of them, it did seem like by their second year, were able to get fellowships, if they were in PhD programs anyway. Are there any other avenues where they can find discounts for their degrees that we haven't gone over yet?
That's a great question. There are actually some additional avenues where they can get discounts. If they went to a certain school for their undergraduate degree, I have found that some schools, if you've graduated maybe within the past 3 years, if you've graduated within the past 5 years, might provide some type of discount to encourage their alumni to come back to get an advanced degree. I know that I mentioned I worked at Northeastern. I have my, as I say, my advanced degrees from there, but not, necessarily, this sense of, I didn't get my bachelor's there, but they offered something called the double Husky. So if you go back and get your advanced degree there's a discount given to individuals looking to further their education.
Mm-hmm.
The other place I think is also another great resource is everybody doesn't go back to graduate school full time. And many will be working and getting their advanced degree. So check with your employer. See if your employer offers any type of tuition benefit where you can get some type of assistance to put towards your degree. It might take you a little bit longer to get your master's, your PhD, even a professional degree. But if you can get some type of savings, maybe $5,000 if that's what your employer offers, or maybe even more, then it's money that you don't have to come up with and pay out of pocket.
Yeah, I went to school as part-time as I could. I mean, it took me 6 years to get a 2-year degree. That was 6 years was the outside of what they allowed, but that way I never had to take, I was able to work the entire time and minimize doing it during our busy season. So, and yeah, College Coach Bright Horizons paid for a solid chunk of it, and I remain grateful for that. It meant that I could just write the check for the rest of it. It was I did not have to take out loans, which was a pretty amazing opportunity. So thank you to Bright Horizons.
I mean, you're right. You're so right. Sally, when you talk about that, because as you mentioned, it took you 6 years. But that was 6 years times, how much, Bright Horizons offered to you. And that could be pretty substantial. So individuals, if they are working, they should definitely think about what their goal is also. Is it okay? Do you need to complete your degree in 2 years or 3 years? Or are you okay stretching it out to 4 or 5 years and maximizing your tuition benefit?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it'll work for some people, not for others. For me, it worked great. Although by the last semester, my professor was like, "Are you finally going to be graduating?" So he kept joking with me, but it was totally fine. So, all right. So we've talked a little bit about differences between part-time versus full-time. Are there any other differences? I mean, other than that, you can, maybe get benefits from your employer. Are there differences in the kind of aid a student can get from the institution?
That's a great question, Sally, because I think that's so important. Many of the scholarships and grant assistance that's offered by colleges, as well as assistantships, are offered only to full-time students. So typically that's 9 credits or above. So if you are hoping to get some type of assistance from the college or university that you're going to be attending, keep in mind that you do need to be enrolled full-time, because most schools don't offer any type of gift assistance to students who are attending part-time.
All right. And so we just have a few minutes left. So I wanted to ask the question whether people could negotiate grad school awards, just like you can in undergrad. I think it's good for people to know that if this might be an option for them.
Sally, that's a great question. In my experience, when I worked at an institution, we did not negotiate any type of gift assistance to students. And many of my colleagues expressed the same thing to institutions that they worked at. They didn't negotiate any type of gift assistance to students that was offered to them. This is what you got, and this is you're going to come or you're not going to come. But on the flip side, a couple of my friends have shared with me that, hey, they got accepted to graduate programs and they went back to the graduate school and said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to attend. This is too expensive for me. And in turn, the department came back and said, here's some money, to attend our program. So I think the end of the story is you know what? It doesn't hurt to ask. The worst they're going to tell you is no, there is no gift assistance, but you won't know that unless you ask. And then you make your decision once you have all the cards on the table. Does it work financially? Is it not a financial fit for you?
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much, Beth.
Thank you so much for having me today.
All right. And thanks so much to Cameron and Ryan as well. If you're interested in learning more about the Common Application Essay, by the way, tune in for our July 1st show, we'll be covering that among other topics. So there's always a good reason to tune in. And finally, I want to remind you that you don't have to listen to our shows live. Every show is accessible 24/7 on the Voice America website. And you can also download every show for free on iTunes. And hey, if you listen to us on iTunes, please feel free to rate us. We want more people to be able to find us. By the way, too, if you want to search for a particular show topic, you can go to our blog page at blog.getintocollege.com. That's blog.getintocollege.com. You can look up a topic and it'll give you the link to Voice America and the video links. Last, don't forget, we're here every Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Pacific.